Hope everyone can share the screen. I can see my screen now. Thank you. Okay. So today's training session is for RSE Reyee CCTV Solution. Before going into this topic, I would like to give some introduction about the CCTV network. The CCTV network widely used nowadays in many areas, in apartments, hotels, public gathering areas, schools, offices, hospitals. So most of the locations nowadays we are using a CCTV network, right? So the demand is more for the CCTV solution to have that in your portfolio. In earlier days, you can see some components in CCTV. We have NVRs, DVRs, we have video walls, we have cameras. We have different types of cameras. You have dome cameras, you have bullet cameras, you have outdoor cameras, PTZ cameras. So many cameras you have, right? So what is the important point having this CCTV in your network, right? Because it gives so much assistance for your physical security and the video surveillance. You can record, you can monitor, you can play back, right? Earlier, we use analog cameras. Hope everyone knows it. We use analog cameras. It's very difficult to manage. We have a lot of challenges. We have 1 camera, 10 camera. We have to manually create. You have to manually manage it. You have to go to that particular camera location. You have to manage it. You have to pull a separate cable, coaxial cable. You have to give a separate power resources to that. And because of the more demanding nature in nowadays, the modern days, all the cameras are converted into network-based. You have IP-based cameras. Now you can use all IP-based cameras because it comes into a network. It is very easy for you to manage in the network, right? Tens, hundreds, and 200s of cameras you can manage in the network. Very easy compared to the analog cameras. When it goes into the network, we have some challenges in managing day-to-day activities. There are a lot of difficulties you have to tackle it. I can highlight few of the points, pain points for you to manage your day-to-day activity in IP-based cameras. Let's say first I talk about the design stage. When you do a design for the camera, we have hundreds of cameras, out of which like let's say 5% or 3% of cameras are more than 100 meters. So how you solve this problem? Whether you have to put a separate passive device in between the cables after every 100 meters, like PO injectors, or you need to put access switches and give the power to the access switches after 100 meters. Let's say if you have 100 meters of more than 100 meters, like say 150 or 200 meters of length of the camera in some location, it's a very complex, right? The infrastructure is you need to change it. I have a lot of issues in that. And second point is if you do an operation and maintenance. Why I'm highlighting it, all the CCTV engineers having this issue. Suppose if they need to restart the camera, suppose if they need to do a normal day-to-day maintenance, it's very, very, very difficult, right? It's a challenging situation for each and every CCTV engineers. So to avoid this, our experts, our panel experts and technical experts has brought up some solution within our portfolio. With our product portfolio, we come up with a solution called RSE Reyee CCTV Solution. We designed this solution. It will be much useful for you. This is a solution we are going to talk about today. Now it's time to go into our Reyee training. Hope everyone gets the information why we designed this RSE solution. Okay. Let's start with our training session now. in the networking solution, in the CCTV network solution, the most important objective is to protect the personal and the building property, right? This is more important, the requirement to have our CCTV solution. I'll give some example to you. If there is a building, okay, there is some event happened, unacceptable event has happened, can be many. But the building owner want to know what has happened. He want to analyze it, why the security has been breached. So in that case, if the CCTV, the management engineer, maintenance engineer is not in the property, and then he can call the CCTV maintenance engineer, right? He can call them. But if the CCTV maintenance engineer is far away from your property, it takes 2 hours to reach there. So it's very difficult for the building owner to sustain that particular situation. So after the CCTV engineer comes after 2 hours, and then he gives the video recordings. What if the video recordings are distorted? And then the videos are pixeled, right? So this is very big challenging situation for the CCTV maintenance. And then security breach, then there is no point we have meet our main objective of having a CCTV solution, right? So that's why to manage our CCTV network, the main objective is we should have a smooth surveillance video transmission. And then we should have an alarm notification. The example earlier I said, if the CCTV maintenance engineer cannot able to provide the video, or in a corridor, the situation happened in the corridor, the event has happened. Then if the camera is offline, how we can give the output, the video output? He can't analyze it, right? So by having our solution, we can avoid this kind of difficulties, challenges. We have a mobile configuration. In your mobile app, cloud app, you can create a mobile VLANs. You can create a separate VLANs for CCTV. And then you can reboot your camera, because most of the issues of the camera offline can be rectified by rebooting the camera. You should not be in the property. You can be anywhere in the property. You can do a reboot, either in office, either out of your work. You can do that. And then if you have any failure, camera failure, you can see the alarms. You can get the alarm. You can rectify the ASAP. And then we are not only providing switches to your CCTV cameras. There are so many locations you can't lay your cables. So in that case, what you need to do, we can use our EST bridges. That is, we use for our CCTV business from one building to another building. So by considering all these points, having our RSE CCTV solution within our product portfolio, we can give a proper solution. We can avoid the pixelation of the surveillance of video and alarm and the common failure of the camera, if it is offline or not. So this is our typical topology. If you see our typical topology here, we have a RSE Reyee router, ES series routers, EG routers, and then we have NVS as a port switch. As I said, we have a CCTV, we have many components. The NVRs or DVRs, the monitoring center where the physical security can monitor your videos, CCTV videos here in a room. And then we have a servers for storage, CCTV recording, video recording will be in storage. And then it will be distributed to all the locations in your property building with the ES series switches. And then you have some cameras, campus CCTV cameras. We have elevator cameras. Even you can use our CCTV network in the elevators. And then even if it is an office network. because of ESCT switches or cloud managed switches, right? These are the benefits you will get from our solution. From the cloud, you can troubleshoot anywhere. And then you can set up VLANs, different VLANs. CCTV, you can put a separate VLAN, isolated VLAN. And then you have production different VLANs. And the most important thing is with our RSE Reyee product, you can do a self-organizing network. Hope everyone knows about the self-organizing network. It's one of the cool features in our RSE Reyee product portfolio. The main objective, as I said, the user can be safe. They can protect based on having the CCTV network. And we can maintain the safety of the building. There will be no security breach. And our solution will support a 250-meter PoE, long distance PoE feature. By using our wireless bridge, we can use the 5 gigahertz, right? 5G between the two EST bridges. You know about the 5G will reduce our interference. And then we can guarantee that the quality of the video is better. There won't be any pixelation. The next topic is CCTV project requirement. As you see in a proper network, we have a lot of services running on your network. Let's say production network. You have guest network. What we suggest is we have to get the CCTV network with separate VLAN, isolate the network from the other services, your production services. Why we have to do a separate network? If you have all the devices in one network, the problem is the broadcast domain will be more, right? So if it's isolated, the bandwidth usage and broadcast domain will be shrinked, and then it will views within this range. You will not get any pixelation, any delay if you isolate the network. So that's why we recommend to you to use a separate VLANs logically to have it in the CCTV network. We support an NVRs because group of cameras will be terminated into the NVR with the different channels and different camera types for video surveillance. So we can log into our cloud to NVR for video surveillance. And then you can see your NVRs anytime and anywhere, wherever you are. And the most important thing is you never know when the camera is offline. The offline due to many reasons. Maybe the cable may be broken, which is down. There are so many issues, right? We never know. So in that case, our app, our Reyee Cloud will generate an alarm. It shows the issues, whether this particular port, particular CCTV is offline. So you can get this offline alarm, and then you can rectify it quickly. You can give a fast response to this CCTV camera when it is offline. And then suppose you have an IP phones in your network, you can create a separate voice VLAN, segregate them with the different services. You can use NBS switches to do the configuration of the voice VLAN. This is one of the typical project requirement of the CCTV. Hope you got the project requirement of the CCTV. The network topology of CCTV like this. You can consider this as a headquarter. What I'm highlighting is the headquarter. Because in a network, you have NBS series switches and ES series switches. You have file servers, you have data servers, you have NVRs and cameras, APs. This is a typical structure of your network. Right? And this is your branch office. Your headquarter and branch office maybe you're far away from each other, maybe a few kilometers. So in that case, we can use the EST bridge. You can use this as an EST bridge to connect between your headquarter to branch office. Because the laying the cable between the headquarters and branch is very difficult. right? You need to have a lot of permission from the municipality or the authority boards, right? And very difficult also. So in that case, if you use the EST bridge, we can extend your network to communicate with your headquarter from your branch office. So here you have NBS series switches, you have IP phones, you have PCs and cameras. So this is our typical network architecture. First, we talk about the self-organizing network. Everyone knows about self-organizing network. Before performing a self-organizing network, what you can do is connect all your devices in your network with EG, gateway to your routers, to your switches, to your devices. Connect everything on a properly with your Cat6 cable. And then you can perform SON based on your APP or your cloud web browser through web browser or the local device. So this is the IP address 192.168.100.0. So you have to be in this range. You can perform a SON network with LAN interface of NEG. Or if you have a Wi-Fi network, you can do a SON by using your APP. The principles of having SON have uses some protocols like ECDISC protocol, MQTT protocols. And there are a lot of packages, a lot of packets are transferred to assign to elect a master device in the network. And the most important thing is to do SON, you don't need any hardware. And even you don't need internet for that. No subscription, no license required for that. You can do it everything SON locally. So SON is you can perform locally. There is no need of any kind of subscription for that. So I can perform an SON for you, practical demo SON. Let me show my other screen. You can so hope everyone see my screen. So this is our Reyee Cloud app. I'm creating a new project. I'm selecting the option because I have Wi-Fi in my SON. So I will start our configuration. I enable my adapter. So you can see the default SSID for the SON. I'm just clicking that. So it's generating a topology. You can create a SON network very quickly within a minute. So I start doing the configuration, giving the project name. You have to give the scenario. We change the name of it. I have a DHCP connection. I create an SSID. I just save the configuration. It will be delivered to all your devices in the network. This is one of the cool feature. So how many devices you have, you can do it within a matter of minutes. You can see a CCTV network here. Yes. Now you connect to the CCTV network. You can see from your APP. We have version 7 APP latestly introduced. So you can see the differences in GUI compared to the old GUI. So this is our device. Okay, so this is how you can do SON. So now I can go into our Ruji cloud. You can see the CCTV lab is there in web of the cloud.
Vì xả để về nghỉ lễ gì không?
One minute, please. So you can see the information, right? One of the things you need to see here is when you do perform an SON, it's not all the devices will go online. They'll not be guaranteed. Why? Because we use different protocols for the devices to communicate to the cloud. There are some devices use CWMP protocol to connect to the cloud. And there are some devices uses MQ-Link. After some versions, some of the devices use MQ-Link to communicate between the cloud and the on-premise devices. For example, if you see, you have EG router in your network and the newer ES devices in your network. If ES device is not online, but your EG is online. Why? Because the ES series switches uses COAP protocol. There's a UDP-based protocol, right? Because of blockage of this COAP protocol, the devices will not be online. So you have to make sure that if you use any firewalls or any devices which blocks our devices go to the network offline, please make sure that all are allowed to enjoy this feature. So this is how the SON can make all the devices, or many of the devices will go online and some of the devices will not go online. So if you want to do it in the eWeb, I can give some video here. You have to be in the same network, as I said, 110. So you go to your web browser. Once it's form a SON, it will automatically detect it. So again, you can see the switch, APs, different types of switches. ES series switches, you have NBS series switches, EG gateway. EG gateway is the master. There are some priorities that EG gateway is a master, then AP, then switch. You can give the network name, As I said, you can give a DHCP or static IP or PPI based on your connection and create an SSID for that. You have to pay attention. You have to give a management password. You should not forget it. You can keep a note of it. And select the country code and time zone. Then you create a network. It takes some time. And it will deliver the configuration to all the devices in the S1 network. I can skip some. Then once it's connected, you can see the topology here. So this is how you can form a S1 operation by using our Reyee Cloud Web. Suppose if you use a Reyee AP in your network, so how the device will be online. So if you have AP, the AP, we have 3 modes: FIT mode, MAC mode, and FAT mode. FIT mode is a default mode when you have AP and want to connect to the Reyee Cloud. If it is in FIT mode, the first it goes to the CWMP request if it is in FIT mode, and it will detect the AC. If it detects the AC, then it will form a catwalk tunnel to establish between the AP and AC. Because AC will work, because the AC connected to the AP will be through the FIT mode, right? If it is a MAC mode, if there is no AC in network, it will convert the FIT mode into MAC mode when you get an internet on the AP VLAN. And then you can see the progress of the cloud of the AP from the status not online yet. If it is not online, not in one single time. And then if it is switch the mode from FIT mode to MAC mode, you switch the mode and then become an online. And then deliver the configuration, what we configured on the Reyee Cloud. You can see the difference of the URLs. Because this is the priority. Device-rec.Reyee networks have higher priority than the CWMP. Or you can use both to get the APs to go online. The default is this, Reyee, device-rec.ReyeeNetworks.com. So we can see the real topology. In a new feature, we can see the real topology. After this slide, I will show you the real topology. First, what you need to make sure is you should make the Reyee Cloud devices on the Reyee Cloud go online. And then make sure the web CLI is available. There's a first step you need to check when you have a topology. And in a project, the root node of the project can be EG or core switch. Right? If you don't have the EG or any of our core switch, you will not get the full topology. Either you get a no data or some other information saying that to fulfill your full topology. So the calculation of the devices and the topology based on the data comes from the devices in the network through the MAC or ARP or routing. So how it will calculate it? Because of the MAC entry table. If you put a show MAC address in a normal behavior of the CLI, you can see a lot of information. Which port number from MAC address table? What is the MAC address of the device? The port number. And all other information you can see from the MAC address, right? The device should support the MAC address table to get the real topology of the devices. And also op table, also you have to have routing. So it should support show MAC address, show op, and show IP routing. So these things will be supported so that it will get a full topology on it. So I will give some information about the full topology here. You can see the full topology. I'm going to the different project. See, this is our full topology. You go to the real topology, you can see for this today's training, we have EG gateway, we have NBS series switches, we have ES series switches, we have IP phones, we have RSE APs and cameras. And you can see the port numbers, which port is connected, what is the MAC address and serial number, MAC address of the camera, MAC address of the devices, right? So this is how the full topology will work by using the show for the MAC address, op table, and IP routing. Next one is a VLAN principle. Everyone knows about the VLANs. Why we use the VLANs? We can isolate the network based on logical grouping or based on the physical location. Or you can use with different services also and different location also. And departments. In office network, you can do it with the different departments. Since it's more flexible, all the VLANs have separate broadcast domain. If you have 100 devices in a network, and 100 devices belongs to different department, let's say 25 for each department, you can create a 4 VLANs, and the 4 VLANs have 4 different broadcast domain. If the traffic moves from the one VLAN, it will go within one VLAN itself. It won't go to the next VLAN. So you can reduce the resources, bandwidth, can reserve the bandwidth, consume in a proper way. You don't get the broadcast storm, and then you can control all your network within the range. Why we separate our CC network is because the camera is very sensitive because it streams the video. So it will give a lot of broadcast and abnormal traffic happen on the CCTV network, right? If you separate them with logically, all bound to that particular VLANs, it will not disturb the other VLANs and other services. So to reduce the negative effect, we should have an isolated network for the CCTV cameras. The VLAN tags is a normal standard Ethernet frame. We have destination address, source address, and the length, data frame, and FCS. But if you have tag frames in your normal Ethernet packet, the tag frames will be added into that packet. The tag packet has TP IDs, priorities, and we have VLAN IDs. What are the VLAN IDs need to carry? It will send in the tag frame. And then we have some port types. Commonly used ports are trunk ports and access ports. The access port carries only one VLAN and one untagged traffic. This access port is suitable for you to connect to your laptops, your printers, the devices which does not support the tag feature. But if in a trunk port, it carries multiple VLANs. You can extend the network from one location to another location by switches, or you can use any of the devices which supports the tag frame. If you see about the packet which we receive, if the VLAN ID is an active VLAN ID, if it is an access port, it receives the packet and process the packet. Suppose if the VLAN ID, what you mentioned in the configuration, and it is not a native VLAN, then it will directly discard the packet. For the trunk port, if the VLAN ID is a native VLAN ID, as I said before, it will receive the packet and it will process the packet. But if the VLAN ID is not equal to the native VLAN, the VLAN ID with the VLAN permission, it will receive the packet and process the packet. Remove the tag and send the tag. And if the VLAN ID is not equal to native VLAN and VLAN ID with VLAN permission listed, it will discard the packet. So hope everyone knows about the access and trunk. I'm just giving some hint about it. We have a DHCP function. Earlier days, we used to do without this function, manually bind the IP address to the devices. We create a lot of issues by having a human error. We create a duplicate IPs, duplicate DNS configuration and gateways, right? By having the DHCP function, we can make our network better without error-free, human error-free network. DHCP is dynamic host configuration protocol, can manage the IP addresses and allocate the IP address dynamically to the host in the network. So your devices in the network obtain from the DHCP server with IP address, gateway address, and DNS information. So having this feature, we don't have any conflict in your network. The most important component, what we call in DHCP, is like DHCP client. The device is what we call it as a DHCP client. Either it's a wireless device or wired device, whichever device in your network, we call it as a DHCP client. The host can obtain IP address dynamically, and the DHCP server can give the IP addresses, assign the IP addresses to the clients, and manage them. I will tell you about the next slide how it manages. And there are conditions in your network. You have only one DHCP server for different VLANs. So how you can do that? You can use a DHCP relay function. The DHCP client and server is not in the same subnet, but it has to provide the DHCP to the client. So you can use a DHCP relay to forward with the DHCP reply packet and request packet. Mostly this DHCP relay server in the layer 3 interfaces, layer 3 devices like routers or layer 3 switch, right? So these are the components of the DHCP function. The DHCP packet, how it transferred between from your host, your wireless client to DHCP server. First, it will say about DHCP discover, because the devices doesn't know about who is our DHCP server. It will give some broadcast message to discover it, who is our DHCP server. Then once it's discovered by sending the broadcast packet, the DHCP server will offer a packet with some information, like IP addresses. Then the same IP address will be requested by the client, the host. Once its request has been done, it will acknowledge it. The offer packet will have some information about the DNS, gateway addresses, and IP address. Then it accepts the same request, IP address, then acknowledge it. The server will acknowledge it. Or in some conditions, if the IP address are used, it will be declined and it will be released. And in the terms of IP renewal, because you wonder, whenever you connect your laptop in a network, you will always get the same IP address. Have you ever wondered how it has happened? By using these functions. Why? Because after because suppose if we create one day as IP DHCP release time, within the period, the DHCP time lease elapses. Once it elapses 50% of the time limit what you set on the DHCP server, the DHCP client will request them to renew it. So once the DHCP server acknowledges it, then the IP address is renewed. Or it will wait for next 85.5% of time to elapse it. Then again request it. And then they will acknowledge it. So in that condition, all your IP address will be the same. That's why you see all the IP address same every time. And suppose in case, if it can be rejected because maybe assigned to some other client. So hope everyone got the DHCP server function. Any questions, you can type it on the chat. The next one is, so this is our structure for this training session. This is our structure for this training session. I can show you some video here. So this is one of the project. And then we can create a VLAN from the network wide, wired VLAN or wireless VLAN. You can create a CCTV VLAN. Click the configuration. From here, you can select the switches. If you want to allow VLAN, which switches you need to connect, you can select it. Which port you want to assign it, that also you can select it. For example, for CCTV VLAN, if the CCTV is occupied in this particular switches and particular port, you can configure it here. You can see the blue is highlighted. So these are the places where it is selected. I can give some real demo about it. And all the configuration, whatever you selected, all will be delivered and pushed in this after the configuration. It takes some time, but it will finish all the configuration to all the switches. Because since delivering all the switches, it takes some time. You can see the description. Right, you can see the description, you can verify whether it is created or not. I can give some information about it. Let's say we have this project, CCTV project, net project. So in the network wide, you can create a network. So what you need to do is you have to add a VLAN, wide VLAN. I can see what is the service you are going to use it, CCTV, VLAN S20. Then you can see automatically changing it. And then it shows the gateway as a router for it. Yes, I acknowledge that the gateway is a router. You can press next. So you can select the devices and you can assign the port. If it is CCTV, the port number 4 is CCTV. I can assign the port number as a CCTV. And then I can select next. So it asks, can you add the port VLAN 20 in the IP address scope for the EG gateway? And then it sets the lease time for 80 minutes. And then the port number 3 is configured as access port from 1. And the port 4 is configured as access port for 20. So the configuration will be automatically take place. The uplink port is port number 5. You can see the description of the uplink port. The port 5 is considered as a trunk port, and also port 1 and 2 also as a trunk port. The native VLAN is 1, and allowed VLAN is 1 and 20. Okay, since the ES series switches, if not allow all the VLANs, the maximum we can go is 16 VLANs. So it allowed 1 and 20. So we can segregate by 1 and 20. Apply it, it will deliver the configuration. Since we have only 2 switches, it will not take much time what you see in the video. You can see all the descriptions here. So the configuration is delivered. And if you want to plan any APIs to add it, you can plan it. Since I'm not going to add any plan it, so I press OK and check the network. So once you check the network, I can see the CCTV VLAN is added with VLAN 20. So you can see the VLAN 20, what is the gateway IP address? The SVA is created on the router. Then who is our DHCP server? What is the DHCP pool? The DHCP time, etc. Same thing for the guest network. You can create the guest network. I can put as a guest network because we need to segregate the CCTV VLAN with the guest network. I select the switch.
Everything. Apo no remove.
Then I apply the configuration. As I said, See the description.
Dari Abdul Wahad Ahmad Madani Ahmed Bahiri Alexander Subhana Tournament Ngin Jinjik Windi Tongori Moko Chan Tong TM.
So if we check the network, VLAN 30 also created. So I created VLAN 10, 20, and 30. And then I give some wireless basics, because in the network we have some wireless basics. As you see, SSID is service set identifier. It's a kind of a network name. We call it as a network name, where your devices, wireless devices, when you see it, the SSID network name from your AP, it will probe the wireless connection. Every time your devices will probe the wireless connection to connect through the SSID. So SSID, we call it as WLAN profile. We can create an SSID. Okay, all the devices in the basic service set BSS use the same SSID. So I'll give some difference about what is BSS and what is SSID. So I can give a SSID where the AP will give. This is an SSID, where your AP will give to your wireless clients. Clients, I can say clients. Where see the clients. Okay, this is one BSS. There is a second AP. This is another BSS. Can be a same SSID. SSID and clients. So this is how it will be. Within the same SSID, AP will be as a one BSS and second AP as a having the same SID, but the BSS is 2. If combination of all 2 BSS will become a one ESS, extended service set. So administrator need to know about BSS, because your client devices will not know about your BSS. Only your client devices will see only SSID, will not show BSS. BSS is nothing but the AP MAC address. Okay, so when you do a roaming, will not affect anything, because if within the same ESS will not do any roaming issues. Okay, so it will scan it. You will get the SSID. You will see the SSID. The STS are connected to the APs. This is how the SSID will work. Next is we have bands. We have some bands to assist our for the APs to your devices. How it will work with the bands and channels. It's based on the modulation. Like AP has a radios. It will transmit the signals, transmit the RF signal, RF signals to your devices based on your channel and medium. You know, wireless, we use wireless air as a medium to transmit the signals, RF signals, right? Then it will be demodulated by your host, maybe your phone or any devices which is doing for demodulation. And then your signals will be captured, and then you can start using your wireless network. This is how it works. So if you see about bands and channels, bands are the range of frequencies. There is a slight difference between band and channel. The bands are the range of frequencies, because in the AP, in a wireless network, we use 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. We call them as a bands. In 2.4 and 5 bands, we have a range of frequency. You can see the range of frequency from 2.4 to 2.83. In that, we have some multiple channels. So multiple channels, we have 14 channels for 2.4. In that, 3 are non-overlapping channels, and 5 GHz, we have a lot of channels, and we have non-overlapping channels also. So that is called, we call it as a channel. The band is like range of frequency. You can see the port and channels here. So we created an VLAN and DHCP, and we can plan for an SSID also. Since I'm not going to cover more about the wireless part here, we'll concentrate more on the CCTV part. So we already created VLAN 30, and we already configured it. We already checked it about the guest VLAN. Now we need to verify it. How we can verify it? So to verify it, you can connect to the local devices. You can log into the local devices. You can create an e-web of the local devices to verify it. Or you can see the functions I showed to you, whether the VLANs are created or not. So you can see by clicking the network planning, you can see the network planning here. You can verify from whether how many wired VLANs created and wireless VLANs created. So we can verify from here. From network, you can verify how many devices we plan. You just click, we see the information here, right? See wireless, we created a CCTV wireless and the DHCP port. We can verify from here. Then how many people are connected here? Next one is the IPC identification. This is a very important topic. We can verify our IPC without NVR and with NVR. We can do in both ways. So there are chances, there are places, you don't need an NVR, like few IPC in your network, like IP-based cameras in your network, maybe 1 or 2 cameras in a restaurant. Maybe you may need it. So in both scenario, we can identify automatically with our RSE solution, CCTV solution. So how the IP-based cameras are identified? First, it detects an IPC traffic on the network, on the switch port. Even though if you have many manufacturers in our CCTV network, you have Hikvision, you have Dahua, you have many more networks. So all the traffics generated by the camera will be monitored in our switch ports and switches. Then it will identify whether it is an IP-based camera or not, irrespective of any manufacturer it has. And second identification is through the NVRs, because we have to configure the NVR, and then we'll come to know that by logging into it. And then can add the NVR into the Reyee Cloud. Once you add that NVR into the Reyee Cloud, from the NVR, we can get and collect the details of the cameras connected. So what are the information you can see from the IPC camera connected to the cloud? You can see the IP address and status and MAC address of the IPC. You can see this information, the MAC address you can see from the real topology. So I will give some information about the normal topology and real topology. Go to the workspace. I can go to the Reyee lab. Go to the workspace. So if you see only the devices, you can see only here, the switch and wrap. But if you go to the real topology, you'll see the whole view of your network. You can see, you can get the MAC address. You can see the real topology of it. So we can stop the training session now. We will have some break. We can have a break till next 10 to 12 minutes. After that, we'll talk about IP camera identification, other remaining topics for the training session.